The year was 1985. The Coca-Cola Company shocked consumers by releasing New Coke, a sweeter version of their popular soft drink. Perhaps less shocking was their announcement 2 months later that they were bringing back their original formula, now rebranded Coca-Cola Classic. And speaking of going back to the well, Arnold Schwarzenegger once again donned a loincloth for his fourth big-screen role as a barbarian warrior. But Rian never saw it. Until now. This is Movies I Missed, 1985, Episode 4, Red Sonja.
I'm Jesse Munoz.
And I'm Ryan Miller.
This is Movies I Missed, 1985, Episode number 4. Today we are talking about Red Sonja, released July 3rd, 1985, with a running time of 1 hour and 29 minutes. I want to give a warning that we will be discussing all aspects of this movie. That includes spoilers. Red Sonja is a fantasy adventure film directed by Richard Fleischer, starring Brigitte Nielsen and Arnold Schwarzenegger. The film follows Sonja, a fierce warrior granted extraordinary strength and skill by a mystical spirit, after she is raped and left for dead following the brutal murder of her family by the evil queen Gedren. Sworn to vengeance, Sonja embarks on a quest to stop Gedren, who has stolen a powerful talisman capable of unleashing destruction upon the world. Along the way, she is joined by the mighty warrior Kalidor and a pair of unlikely allies.
Someone is using the talisman. What place is that?
Taplak. It's a great city. Where are you going?
Haplok.
Wait. I'll come with you.
Why should you? It's no business of yours, and neither am I.
You may be wrong on both counts. I know you're a brave girl, but danger is my trade.
Then I'll learn it by myself. Don't make me angry, Kalidor. I don't need any man's help.
You mispronounced Conan.
It's not
Kalidor.
Let's talk about this. You picked this movie. I honestly haven't seen the Conan movies. I know parts of them. I've seen parts of them. I almost was going to watch Conan the Barbarian first because I thought that this was a sequel to it or like a movie tied to that world because they're...
Might as well be, but it's not.
Right. They're characters created by the same guy. What's his name?
Robert E. Howard.
Yes. So I thought this was actually Conan in this movie, not Conan O'Brien, Conan in this movie. And then he shows up and doesn't introduce himself as Conan. I'm like, okay, so I guess I didn't need to watch. It didn't work out. But.
Yeah, I mean, very early in his career, in addition to a couple of other random little small parts, he was known for playing a barbarian in Conan the Destroyer. And he was also in a Hercules movie, Hercules in New York, very early in his career.
Right, yeah.
Maybe, yeah. But so it's like, it just feels like that was the thing to do, was to put him in this movie. I mean, this came out the year after Terminator. So I feel like once Terminator came out, people were like, okay, we can do stuff with him other than just put a sword in his hand. But this movie was probably already in the making by then, so... But this just feels like this is just what you do with Arnold, is if you're going to do a movie about like fantasy warriors and stuff, you just put him in it in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. So what did you think, before I get to what do you think, what were you thinking when you picked this movie? No, that's the wrong question. That's the wrong way to frame it. Why did you pick Red Sonja?
To be frank, as you know, I'm a fan of action movies and 80s action movies. And, I think so. I also am a fan of spreadsheets, and at some point I decided to make a spreadsheet and chronologically put on it all of the action movies from who I consider to be like the 10 like classic 80s action stars. Starting with I started it in 1978 with Drunken Master for Jackie Chan.
Oh, okay.
It's basically Jackie Chan, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Chuck Norris, Mel Gibson, Wesley Snipes, Sylvester Stallone, who am I missing? Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme, and Bruce Willis.
Oh, I was going to say, you're missing Bruce Willis there.
And so I made this giant spreadsheet, and I decided to start in 1978 with Drunken Master because while Jackie Chan had been in a bunch of other stuff, that was kind of the movie that put him on the map as like a star leading man. And then I decided to end it. I feel like the ending point for like the classic era of the 80s action hero is 2003. Because that was the year that Arnold quit acting to become a politician. So between those years, I made a list of all those guys' action movies, and it ended up being 207 films.
Oh, jeez.
And so for a while there, I don't know if you remember, but like 2-3 years ago, I would do these pizza and a movie, or like afternoon movie and like chicken wings viewings, and I would post about them on Instagram. And that was me trying to knock out all the ones I hadn't seen. Like my goal is to watch all of the movies that all those guys put out through that time period. And I've only got like 30 some more to go. And this was one of them. So when I was like, oh shit, there's an Arnold movie, like the one Arnold movie I haven't seen from that era. And it falls on this year. Got to pick it. And that was my main thinking. With no thought to like what the quality of the movie would be. Just it's a movie with Arnold that I hadn't seen from that like 30-year time period.
Would it surprise you if I told you I didn't hate it?
Yes.
I didn't hate this movie. I didn't hate it. Like, I felt like as I was watching the movie, and it's obviously poorly acted, it's obviously poorly written, it's obviously poorly directed, but there was something about the fantasy-ness of it all, like the costumes and like the castles and them shooting out in Italy and all the look of everything, that I'm like, man, if they just had episode of Game of Thrones budget and one of those Game of Thrones directors and take one of the Game of Thrones writers and just take this exact silly story. The story's basic. She gets beat up, left for dead, and gets magical powers or powers from a whatever that spirit was to go get revenge on a bad person who wants to do bad things with a magical artifact, right? Just take that basic story and give it to like the people that work on Game of Thrones or, some of the TV shows that are have a better budget, and turn that, go film on those locations, delve into the magic, get some of the costumes, just dirty them up and make them look a little bit more realistic, and then find someone that can give the characters dialogue that is words that actual people would say. I feel like that movie's in here somewhere. It's not this movie. I'm not saying I liked it, but I was like, oh man, there's things I like about it because maybe again, compared to Game of Thrones, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan, and even the Hot D stuff that they're putting out now. Game of Thrones has never really pushed into magic all that much, and even Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings was very little magic and like fantasy elements. You got every once in a while you'll see a dragon or something, but this had a little bit more of the like fun, cool fantasy stuff that I'd like to see a show or a movie take advantage of, like with the queen with the weird gold mask and like the soldiers with the costumes that obviously aren't realistic because they have like skulls on top of their heads. And I don't know, there's just like some fun things as the movie started. I'm like, oh, this could have been fun. I didn't hate it. It's not good. I don't want to, spoilers, it's not good at all. But I was like, man, this could have been something. And even Arnold, like looking at Arnold in the movie, it's just like, what a specimen.
I know. It's just impressive to have him on screen. It's like, there's your, you don't even need like sets. You just need him with his shirt off.
He's just awesome. The action's not good. The camera, like the directing is like the budget directing of like, you set up a camera and you just let the action happen in front of you. There's no style or substance to it. People walk in and out of frame. You know what I mean? It's like, there's just, if you had, it's there. There's stuff that could be there that could be a lot of fun. Did you see Dungeons and Dragons that came out like 2 years ago? that kind of had that. I really like that movie. That movie was a lot of fun, and it has a lot of that same sort of like push into the world of fantasy a little bit more. That fantasy is more accepted now because of like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, but it's got to be, you can't get too weird, right? Like,
well, you can get as weird as you want as long as it's funny. Like that's the thing that Dungeons and Dragons movie showed me.
Yes.
Like once upon a time, it feels like people wanted or at least accepted movies like this where they took themselves very seriously while also being like silly fantasy. But nowadays it's like you can do whatever you want. Make it as like weird and unusual as you want it to be, as long as it feels kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy. And that's what the modern D&D movie was like to me. I did enjoy it. I don't think it's like amazing. I think it's just like, it's like the perfect description of like the term free pass. Like, you know, it gets by on just being like kind of likable and lighthearted. Would I prefer something that's a little more hard-edged and serious? Something more in the vicinity of Lord of the Rings? Personally, yes. But people just want irreverence these days. And that's what that movie provided. And, you know, people like it even though it didn't make like a ton of money, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think it was also expensive to make. Surprise, surprise. With all the special effects and everything. But let me tell you, if you liked this movie, I have a recommendation for you, my friend. Conan the Destroyer. The Conan movie with Arnold that people generally all agree is the worst of the two. This movie felt exactly like that. Like, it would be a fascinating experiment, I think, for you to go back and watch the two Arnold Conan movies, because the first one is directed by John Borman, like a serious director, and it's dark and it's serious and it's awesome. And then Conan the Destroyer was made by this same director, Richard Fleischer. And it's exactly the same tone and style as this. Like, the first Conan felt like this dark, serious movie, and the second one is just like, let's go on an adventure with monsters and such. Like, that's totally what it is. Like, it's good for what it is, but it's like, while I think the first Conan is like great, the second one is like, it is what it is, but it's a fun watch.
That's the thing is I think you can have both. I like the darker, serious stuff, you know, the Lord of the Rings, the Game of Thrones. I like the Dungeons and Dragons, the more tongue in cheek. Somewhere in the middle, I think, is where I think a good Red Sonja movie could be. Like let's go on an adventure and like fight monsters. My favorite part of the entire movie, we'll get into, I guess, the plot or whatever, but my favorite part of the entire movie is the water sequence where they're fighting the rock lizard.
It's like a mechanical fish thing.
Yeah. I just thought that whole sequence was like a lot of fun. With them fight. It was, super cheesy. And the climax is so silly of them poking the eyes out or whatever, like blinding it. But like the water is like rush.
Help me cut its eyes out. It's the only way.
The water's pouring in, they're on a real practical set with water pouring in. They got this cool monster design, going through the water. It's actually cut kind of interestingly where you like see it like swimming through the water and where is it?
It's kind of creepy before you really get a good look at it because it's like a physical thing running around under the water.
Yeah, I think a better director would have shot it so that you never really fully get to see how cheap it looks, you know what I mean? But
even the fact that it wasn't a living thing, it's supposed to be like a robot.
Mechanical,
like the fact that it's kind of cheesy looking, it's like okay because it
totally
you're thinking it's a mechanical thing where the mouth just snaps open and close or whatever.
Yeah, no, I thought that whole scene was really fun, and I wish the movie had more of that. I feel like the action doesn't work as well when Arnold is not a part of it, and even when he is, it's not the greatest. It's a lot of I swing my sword at you, I swing my sword at your sword, sort of fighting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're not actually trying to hit anything. And so like for an action movie, it's trying to go there, but it doesn't quite get there. The dialogue is some of the worst dialogue I've ever seen in a movie. It feels like, even for a fantasy movie, it feels really, really stilted. And then the acting is just so bad. Outside of, Arnold doesn't really have much to do, but it's hard to blame the actors even with the dialogue that they're given. But it's It's just so tongue-in-cheek and over the top.
It's just like writers thought that the way to make dialogue sound like it belongs in this like ancient world of wizards and warriors was to have everybody just speak very matter-of-factly and say each other's names constantly, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just like, Calidor, we must go this way. Just like all dialogue
Right.
is just like that. It's just like whatever the character needs to say, just type it out the way a robot would say it. And that's totally how people are supposed to talk.
It's bad. It's really bad. So it starts out with her. I wish her like actual origin story was fleshed out a little bit more, as opposed to just being told in like flashback, where we see her like her parents or her family get murdered, and then she gets taken advantage of, and then all of a sudden she's talking to a spirit in the forest, and it's like granting her power to her arm to be the best swordsman in the land. And then she goes and she goes and trains with the guy from Kill Bill Volume 2 and learns the way of the sword. Yeah. And learns the way of the sword and gets to pick her sword. It's just like all that stuff, in theory, I enjoy the idea of. It's just the execution of it is so bad. Like when she gets to pick her sword, there's like no majesty to it at all. It's just like, let me look at the wall of swords, all in the same shot, and then this one, and then I hold it up. It's just like, there's just no artistry to it at all. You know what I mean? And I feel like, man, it'd be fun if you took this exact shitty story and gave us a little bit of artistry to it.
Speaking of that scene, I just love the way that she's in there training, and then Arnold rides in and just stops his horse, and they're all standing in front of him, and he's just like, is Red Sonja here? And she's like, I'm Red Sonja. And he's like, your friend Varna is dying. Nothing more than that. He just says that. And then he's like, I will take you to her. And then she's just like, all right, peace, guys. Gets on a horse and follows him. It's like, that's how simple. And like, she has no reaction. There's no like reaction shot of her going like, oh, no, Varna. It's just straight faced. I will get on a horse and follow you. Let's ride. Like it's just
there's just no actual human interaction between the two of them, right? Like you write a scene like
so
that,
stilted. It's just
and like
hilarious.
Who are you? And he's like, I've come from like if we were writing, it'd be like, I've come from afar, and I've got a lady who claims to be your sister.
And like she wouldn't believe him at first, and they'd have to fight, and then he'd prove it to her somehow, and then
there's just something to it. But she's just like, okay, let's go. You know what's also funny is, so she's going after the queen who stole this mystical talisman, whatever. That doesn't matter.
The glowing green thing.
Yeah. To destroy the world. So she's going after her. Every time she's just like, where am I going? I gotta go somewhere. She gets to a place, it's been destroyed, and they're like, where did she go? She's like, up this place. And she's like, where's that? Has she not lived in this land at all? Like, I've just kept feeling like, is she not a part of this place? Because she keeps asking everyone where everything is. It's almost like she came in, she got transported from a different world. And it's like, where do I go now? It's like, oh, over here. Well, where's that? Haven't you lived here your whole life? Like, where are you from? I don't know. There's things like that. It's just like, this is mostly just a nitpick because it's so bad. Like the actual plot and the actual like story and writing is so bad. But it's like those little things where it's like, oh, you could just give it a little bit more character. Bridget Nielsen has none of the charisma that Arnold Schwarzenegger has as Lord Calidor. Like,
I mean, let's be frank though, he doesn't even have much charisma in this movie. Like, we know that he does have charisma. Like, you go on and you watch like the stuff that he does later, and like even like the comedies that he's done, like Twins. But in this, he is just very like monosyllabic, and it's like he doesn't have the opportunity to do a whole lot because, like I said, they write these warrior characters as though they just like speak in bland 5-word sentences and never show any emotion or anything.
Yeah. I thought it was funny when she gets to her friend or sister, whoever's dying, and she's like, don't say anything, rest. And she's like, I don't have much time. Okay, now tell me. I thought that was kind of...
And then she immediately dies.
Yeah, then immediately dies. Oh, that was funny. So the queen goes to this castle where they're going to destroy this talisman because it created the world or something.
I gotta be honest, I have no
the world.
clue what the deal was with the talisman. Like, they've presumably been harboring it in this monastery or whatever, surrounded by female warriors, because females are the only ones who can touch the talisman. I did think it was awesome when the guy touches it and he just disappears from existence.
Yeah.
Like he turns green for half a second and then is just gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like these priestesses or warrior women or whatever are guarding this glowing green talisman, and we're introduced to them on the day that they decide it must be not destroyed, but they're going to like lock it underground in like this cave or something.
I don't know, because we never see where that hole leads to.
No, when the bad guys come, they throw all the women down there and then they seal it and you hear them like screaming, but we don't know. Is it just a pit? Is there like boiling lava down there? But so then like it's taken and the bad guys take it to this castle and it's like slowly deteriorating and it's going to like destroy the castle or something, but the bad guy, Queen Gedrin, she like wants to use it for like its powers, but it's almost like a battery that's going bad and it's corroding or something, so they don't have much more time to use it, and people want her to destroy it, but she doesn't want to. I don't really get, like, what's the half-life on this thing? What does it do? What can it do? Why does it do anything? It's just a MacGuffin. Why does she really
want it, honestly?
Yeah. It's just this thing. It's like the fucking briefcase that glows gold in Pulp Fiction. Like, it's just there for everybody to want it or want to destroy it, which is fine. I mean, it gets everybody running around hitting each other with swords.
Yeah. So she goes after the queen, tells Arnold to take a hike because she hates men. She wants nothing to do with men because
how many times is she like, I need no help from men, and then he shows up and saves her
constantly,
like, all the time.
The entire movie. The entire movie is her getting rescued by Arnold, which is a little silly if you're going to make a Red Sonja movie and make her the star, and then have Arnold rescue her constantly. They tried to say that they're equals with the fights that they have, but clearly she needs him because she gets herself into some pretty bad situations. So she goes to this castle that gets destroyed, and that's where we meet the future Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle 2 star, Ernie Reyes Jr. is just a little kid who was a lot of fun in this movie. And he's got a lord.
Manservant?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. A guy who just does whatever he says, and they kind of join along on
called
the journey.
Falcon with a K.
Yeah, let's talk about the cast and crew. We mentioned the director, Richard Fleischer. He was the director. You have here Fantastic Voyage, Dr. Dolittle, Tora, Soylent Green. Wow.
Mr. Majestic, which is a Charles Bronson movie. The New Centurions is a George C. Scott movie.
Wow.
The Jazz Singer, Amityville 3D.
So why does this movie look so bad? Like, I haven't seen most of what you're talking about, but they're like well-regarded movies, right?
I mean, for considering when this movie was made and the budget it probably had, I think it looks pretty good. Like,
I'm not talking about the look. I'm talking about the actual direction of, like, there's times he just sets the camera down and there's just action that happens. He's not an action director, I guess.
I think that's just the way they used to do it, like a lot of wide shots. Like, you got to keep in mind that, like, in the more modern era when stuff like, Lord of the Rings or whatever is filmed, like, they're editing it digitally. Like, if they want to have all these cool cutaways and like different shots in a scene, they have to literally sit there and like cut the film and tape it together. So it's like, it makes a lot more sense to just like film a wide shot of people fighting and have it like kind of choreographed well. I feel like that's just the way that they did stuff back then.
Maybe that's the problem, is it's not choreographed very well then. It's just,
but I mean, again, like, just go watch Conan the Destroyer, and it's like the same thing. Like, this movie and that movie look and feel exactly the same in like tone and like style and everything. Like, Fantastic Voyage, it's not exactly an action movie, but it's like, people shrunken down and they're inside of a human body. And I've seen that movie, and it's like, it's quaint, but it's pretty fake looking. Dr. Dolittle, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I caught part of it on Turner Classic Movies one time, and there's like this weird like fish creature that they go inside of, and they live inside of it like an apartment, and it's very mod and ridiculous. Something like The New Centurions was a really good movie, but it just takes place in like modern day for like 1970s or whatever, Los Angeles. I think it's a cop movie. And then Soylent Green, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but it's like a post-apocalyptic kind of dystopian movie, so it's like just throw some rubble around. Something like this, it's like there's a lot more to it visually, and like it is much more about the action, and I just think, you know, it would have been tough to pull off something much more impressive stylistically than they do in a movie like this. Personally, that's kind of how I feel.
Sounds like a bunch of excuses. This was his second to last movie. So that might have played a part in it too.
But I mean, I don't know if you
like,
could,
I get it. Yeah, I understand. Like
also it's
more
like
work.
people with like these giant like broadswords, you know, like you can go back even further and watch like The Adventures of Robin Hood with Errol Morris, and like that at least has like people swinging from chandeliers and like running around a lot more, but they're also using like little rapiers that like aren't as hard to wield. Like I think that comes into play with it as well to a degree.
Well, it's not hard to wield foam or plastic looking swords. Those swords were not metal. Those swords look like really, really bad.
I don't know. I disagree with that. Like, I don't know what they were made of, but I would have guessed that they were actual metal swords that they were swinging around.
Maybe they
like
were.
As hard as it looks like it is for Arnold to even swing the thing around. Like
he's
that
just
scene,
a good actor.
That scene where him and Red Sonja were fighting and it just goes on and on, I actually did start to feel like a little exhausted watching them.
Yeah.
Because it's just like blow for blow there, and then like they start to get tired.
Yeah.
I don't know. But like to a degree, yes, it is. I'm making excuses for it, but I also think it's just like that was the time, that was the, you know, technology, and probably just the filmmaking style. You know, we didn't have our Edgar Wrights and our Danny Boyles back then. And if we did, I don't think Richard Fleischer making like his next to last movie was one of them or whatever.
Does the Conan the Barbarian look better? Is the action better in Conan the Barbarian?
I just watched Destroyer a couple years ago, so I have that more in like my memory. It's been a long time since I've seen Barbarian, but I feel like that movie is a little more like one-on-one and less like these big parts where it's just like Arnold swings his sword once and a guy like a stuntman jumps out of the way and acts like he got hit kind of thing. But I mean, I definitely think John Boorman in that movie was like taking it more seriously and more concerned with how it looked versus, I mean, this movie and Conan the Destroyer are just like brightly lit. Like it feels like this guy thinks these movies are just for kids, which was not what John Boorman was going for.
Sure. I mean, the budgets of Conan the Barbarian and Red Sonja are actually really close to each other, so it's not just money, right? Like,
yeah, but also like in my memory, again, I haven't seen it in a while, but Conan the Barbarian, I feel like it's less like giant castles and like creatures, like, you know, robot fish in like caves, and it's like a more grounded, serious, like, yeah, it's, you know, long ago in a land of warriors, but it's less like fantastical stuff. You know?
Okay.
That's at least the way it is in my memory. I may be completely wrong because it's been a while since I've watched the first one, but.
So, movie stars Bridget Nielsen, though she's not top billed. Arnold Schwarzenegger,
right.
top billed.
Well, this was her first movie, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was her first movie. We infamously had a debate 15 years ago about Schwarzenegger, I think, on the Sidetrack podcast about whether he's replaceable. I think I don't remember how the conversation went, though. Yeah. Obviously, you're a bigger fan of Arnold than I am. I do enjoy Arnold. I think my respect for him has grown as I've gotten older and wiser. But what are your thoughts on Arnold?
Just in general?
Yeah.
I mean, I love watching him in movies, more so in the past. Like pretty much everything he's done since he came back to acting, I think is, you know, it is what it is. But in his heyday,
has he done action since he's, I guess, like The Expendables, right?
Yeah, he was in some of The Expendables a little bit. His first movie when he came back, I think, it was The Last Stand with him and Johnny Depp. Do you remember that one? Or not Johnny Depp, Johnny Knoxville. Very different Johnnies. It was directed by a Korean director, and it was his big return, and he was playing like the sheriff of this small town, and there's like some high-class criminals coming to town, and Johnny Knoxville's like his sidekick. He was in like Escape Plan with Sylvester Stallone, like the two of them finally, after all these years, co-star in a movie together, and then it's like some shitty pseudo sci-fi, like they're in a futuristic prison movie. Not a ton of action, I feel, because I think that like it was very quickly he and viewers realized he can't really do it anymore.
Sure.
But yeah, like going back to his heyday, like anything he was in like the late 80s, the 90s, I'm pretty much all about. I think that he is charismatic. I think that he's like super impressive to look at on screen. And it's like, just like when I watch him like pick up a dude and throw him across the room, I believe it, unlike a lot of other people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look at the run from 82, right? He goes Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer, Terminator, right? That's 3 movies in 2 years. Red Sonja, Commando, Raw Deal, Predator, The Running Man, Red Heat, Twins, Total Recall, Kindergarten Cop, T2, Last Action Hero, True Lies. Like, that's a run from 84 to 94 that is just like, how many huge hits are there? Right?
I mean, take us right up through like the year 2000, because you still have stuff like Eraser in there.
Eraser, Jingle All the Way, Batman Robin, End of Days, 6th Day, Collateral Damage, T3.
Yeah, I mean, I'd stand behind most of that stuff. Not necessarily Collateral Damage, not necessarily Batman and Robin, but I mean, Jingle All the Way is a super fun movie. I think The 6th Day is pretty good. But
yeah, it's a huge run. Like, it's an impressive run. I mean, Total Recall, T2, Predator, Last Action Hero, all of those are like True Lies. Those are all like awesome, man.
And it's just so like, good. If you want to talk about that long ago argument or debate or whatever we had about like whether or not he's replaceable, I think specifically that conversation was in reference to the Terminator, and you were kind of getting at, he just has to play this kind of emotionless robot, like anybody could do that. But I think the thing that I always stand on is like, look at the Terminator movies we've seen since, where we've had like different people playing the Terminator, and I don't think any of them are nearly as iconic or nearly as good. And I mean, it's going to be tough to stand up to him. Someone like Robert Patrick does something really interesting in Terminator 2, but like Kristana Loken was not very good, and like any of the people in the other ones since. And part of it with him is his size and how imposing he is. Because like James Cameron's original idea for Terminator was not for him to be this gigantic beast of a man. It was supposed to be that he would be like a normal looking person who can easily blend into a crowd, which makes sense for this robot who's like disguised as a human. So like James Cameron's first like concept painting of the Terminator with his flesh on was he used Lance Henriksen as his example. And like that makes a lot more sense. He's like unassuming, but then like, once you get Arnold in there and that's what you kind of know the character as, you want him to be this big imposing dude. But then like going on to Terminator 2, he's big and imposing, he's scary, you believe that he can beat the shit out of people, but at the same time, within the realm of he's still like an emotionless robot, like he's so likable in that movie, like, learning how to smile and whatnot from John Connor. And I think that's where a lot of people would just think, oh, he's just like a big dumb guy who can't act and just beats people up. Like, I don't think it's that simple. And I think that that's proved even more as he goes on and does stuff like Twins and Junior and Jingle All the Way. And it's like, yeah, no part of me believes that just like the CEO of this company in Jingle All the Way looks like him. He obviously is like this big bodybuilder, but you don't care because he's so fun to watch and he is like charismatic. So like in this movie, I would agree. You could replace him with like Sven Ole Thorsen, who is like an old friend of Arnold Schwarzenegger and is like another bodybuilder guy, because in this he barely talks and he just has to hit people. But once you start getting into movies where he actually has a character and he's acting, I don't really think he's as replaceable as one might think. Because in addition to being like a charismatic, likable person who can act to a degree, he's not the best in the world, you get that visage of him. And while there's other guys like, you know, Jean-Claude Van Damme or Bruce Willis, like nobody else who's that good looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I think it's that combination that makes him such a powerhouse.
Yeah. I think your argument was won after the last 10 years of The Rock movies, the Rock's movie filmography. I feel like, you know, Arnold has such a huge physique, right? And we've seen other people on film be as big and as imposing as Arnold. But what you're saying is they don't have the character or the charisma or the chops to do more than just be imposing. And I think you're 100% correct. You know, The Rock is huge. He wasn't that big when he was wrestling, but when he got, especially lately, I don't know if it's working out or roids or whatever they do to get that big, HGH or whatever, he just doesn't have it. He was supposed to be the next big action star.
And I think he could be if he could get his fucking ego out of the way. Like, I can't decide if The Rock's problem is that he's trying too hard or not hard enough. And I think it's probably too hard. Like, he doesn't want to let go of this image of like he has to be the most perfect guy all the time in every movie he's in or something. But I've also... I saw somebody a while ago post a thing on social media that made a lot of sense to me. If you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger's career, a lot of the time he's working with like significant, noteworthy directors, and he's like trying to align himself with people like James Cameron, works with numerous times. Ivan Reitman, the guy that gave us Ghostbusters, he works with him on multiple occasions. He works with like Paul Verhoeven, and like was trying to work with Paul Verhoeven for a couple years before they finally took over Total Recall, which was originally a Stuart Gordon movie together. And you look at The Rock, who are like the noteworthy directors he's worked with?
No it's all jobbers.
Because he just picks these guys like Jaume Colette Serra, who will like, they are like secondary to him, and it's like he's directing them on how to direct him. Like he's picking people who will continue to make him just be what he thinks he needs to be, which is just this perfect guy who's always the smartest, funniest one in the room. Whereas Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think there was more variety to the roles he played.
Yeah.
I think that's also kind of the problem with Vin Diesel. I think these guys can't let their fucking egos get out of the way. And Arnold is an egotistical guy. Like, go back and watch his interviews in Pumping Iron. Like, that dude is full of himself, but he had a business savvy that, you know, The Rock has like hair care products and shit, but I think that Arnold's business savvy and as much as like building a reputation and an image, frankly dwarfs what Dwayne Johnson has managed to accomplish in the last 10, 15 years.
100%. Stallone though, right? He's the closest rival to Arnold.
For sure. He took like a slightly different path, especially in the beginning, because, you know, before he was like a star or known for like being an action guy, he was a writer and, you know, eventually a director. I mean, he wrote Rocky. That's like, in my opinion, that's a bigger accomplishment than his performance in the movie, and he's great in it. I don't remember exactly what year Rocky came out. Was it like the tail end of the 70s? It wasn't an 80s movie, right?
Yeah, I think it was like 78, 79.
So like that just happened to be a movie about a boxer, and you got to be in good shape and like believable to be a boxer. And it's like that movie's more of a drama than an action movie to me, but I think people still perceive Rocky as like an action franchise. But like, I think it would have been very easy if it wasn't, even the first Rambo, it's like more of a drama. Like, yes, it does have action scenes, but like when you look at the difference between the first Rambo and the second one, where he's just like shirt off and all muscles, like I don't know where that competition between him and Schwarzenegger exactly came from, but I feel like it would have been very easy for Stallone to transition into being more of like an auteur filmmaker and actor in, you know, dramas and stuff throughout like the 80s and whatnot, coming from like his late 70s, you know, filmmaking. Like the stuff that it felt like he could have been doing was more along the lines of like Dustin Hoffman with like Midnight Cowboy and The Graduate and all, but it's just for whatever reason he transitioned into being this like big muscular guy. And I don't know, there's a couple of like drama kind of movies that he made that I guess didn't really take off. Like I think he was in Rhinestone with Dolly Parton, and maybe it was just easier to do the action stuff and make money that way. But I would say that Stallone was successful in the same way as Arnold, even though it feels like he didn't necessarily have to be. Whereas Arnold, he's good in comedies, he's good in action. I don't think anybody was going to like make him the dramatic lead in something like a Rocky.
Right. Yeah. I don't know how we got here, but let's get back to.
I told you I like 80s action stuff. I could talk about this shit all day.
I feel like I'm going to school today. Bridget Nielsen in her first role as Red Sonja. What did you think about her? What do you know about her? She ended up marrying Stallone, I think, for a bit.
Yeah. Well, she was in Rocky IV and Cobra with him.
Okay.
You know what? Like Bridget Nielsen is just another actress who, like, I know the name. I knew that she was in this. I didn't know it was her first movie originally, but like, I would have thought like she went on to have like this bigger career in like as like a dramatic actress or something. But when I looked her up, it's like she did a couple noteworthy things like Rocky, Cobra, and then she was in Beverly Hills Cop 2 in kind of a memorable role. But then she goes on to do like a bunch of like forgotten no-name dreck. So like, I guess she's not that great of an actress. I don't know.
I mean, I only have this to go by, and she was not good. And again, it might be hard to base it just on the acting because how do you perform this dialogue, right? Like, give this to Meryl Streep, and she's gonna look like a shitty actress too.
So just like Arnold, I'm sure that they were casting her because she could remember a line and she looked good,
Yeah.
Like you could believe of all the women that they tried out that she could lift the sword and had some brain cells would be my guess is like how they picked her. And she's not bad considering what she has to work with.
Right. Physically imposing and believable wielding the sword. I don't know. I thought she was good.
Yeah. I mean, again, that scene where her and Arnold fight in the woods, like, in reality, he would have so much more power behind those swings and his sword is bigger and would be heavier. So it's like, I don't really believe that somebody of her stature with that sword she was carrying could have stood up to him. But like within the context of the movie, I bought it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just too bad that he had to save her every time she got in trouble.
I know, that is so weird. Like her stance is like, I need no man's help. And then, she comes up against that dude and his army. He's sitting on his throne and he won't give her the key. And then Arnold comes and rescues her. She takes down like one guy and then he's like, I'll stay behind. And he's just like wrecking house, killing everybody. Yeah. And then they're in the pool being attacked by the fish thing. And then here comes Arnold and he's the one who figures out how to stop it. And it's like constant. He's saving her, which is kind of a weird mixed message.
It really is. Sandal Bergman as Queen Gedrin. She was in Conan the Barbarian, right?
Yep. But more, I know her from Hell Comes to Frogtown, the Roddy Piper post-apocalyptic movie where frog people have a harem of women captive, and Roddy Piper is one of the last fertile men, and they send him in with an explosive, what do you call it? It's like a chastity belt. They send him in with a chastity belt that's rigged to explode if he doesn't do what they say. And Sandal Bergman plays the sexy military babe who goes along with him to make sure that he like does what they sent him in there for, to fight the toad people.
That sounds
terrible
awesome.
Movie that I absolutely love.
Sounds amazing. Yeah.
But yeah, Sandal Bergman in that movie, I'll always remember her for that. But yeah, she is in Conan as well.
And then we've got Paul L. Smith as Falcon. That's the guy that follows Ernie Reyes Jr. around. You know who I kept thinking of when I saw whenever he was on screen?
Oh, let me think of his name. God, I kept thinking of, I think he was on SNL.
Horatio Sands.
Horatio Sands, yes, that's who I thought of the whole time.
Yeah. I'm like, what is it Horatio Sands doing in this movie? He's probably only like 2 years old when this was made or whatever. But
every time he was on screen, I was thinking of Horatio Sands.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny. And then Ernie Reyes Jr. as Prince Tarn. He was one of the original Ninja Turtles in the Ninja Turtles movie. He was also, who did he play in T2? He played like the sidekick.
He's in T2?
Not Terminator, TMNT2.
Oh, I have never seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 or 3.
Yeah, 3's bad. 2's, he plays like this kid that stumbles upon the turtles and like helps him out later. But he was also in costume in both movies. So he plays as some of the turtles and obviously knows karate or martial arts or whatever.
He's in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I like him. And he was fun in this too. Brought a lot of little fun humor to it.
Yeah, see, he's like charismatic and entertaining, and he was a good time.
And he's got the moves. He's like, you believe him. I don't believe he can beat anybody because he can't, because he was just a little kid. But his moves are believable. Like you can see that he practices his karate in martial arts a lot.
The one thing I did think was funny, and I don't know why, but this was like jumped into my head as like the only kind of comparison I could think of, because it made his fighting seem really phony. And I'm sure it's just from the way he was taught as a kid to do martial arts, but every single time he moved during a fight scene, he would go like, hi, 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 hi.
Yeah.
And it just made me think of like watching a porn scene where like the actress is obviously faking it and just like moaning on every pump. And it's just like, after a while, you're just like, shut up. You're taking me out of the scene. That's what this felt like. I was so sick of him yelling every time he threw a punch. But I'm sure that's just from like him in his martial arts classes as a kid.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So he was fun. He brought a little levity. I didn't know he was going to be in it as much as he was. Like they stumble upon him. He's like trapped on a broken statue, the hand of a broken statue, like falling into like boiling mud or something. And Red Sonja comes to rescue him. And I thought, oh, that was a fun little scene with Ernie Reyes Jr. That was good. And then they just show up later and are part of the entire movie.
And when they come back later, they're trying to like, it's like he's being drawn and quartered. They have his legs tied to a tree and his arms tied to a horse, and they're like trying to rip him in half.
Yeah, it was brutal. That was brutal. You've got Pat Roach as Lord Breytag. Who is that?
That was the guy that they fight to get the key for the gate.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah, he's just a big dude who's been a big dude in a ton of stuff. He was in a couple of the Indiana Jones movies as different characters, Clash of the Titans. Stuff like that. Actually, I think I wrote it down. He's in all three of the the original three Indiana Jones movies as different people, just as like big dudes that they come up against.
Yeah, he was fun in that one scene. And I feel like that's what this movie is. It's just a bunch of little scenes put together. It's not a real narrative story.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of like classic fantasy films, I feel, where it's a journey. It's just like we wander, we stop, we meet some people, either have a weird conversation or get into a fight. And then maybe one of these new people sticks with us and we continue on. And every 10 minutes we have like another encounter.
Yeah.
Like that's what this is. That's what Conan the Destroyer was very much like. I mean, there's another great classic, like great but terrible 80s fantasy movie called Beastmaster. I'm kind of doubting you've ever seen.
I haven't seen it. I know about it though.
Yeah, it's awesome in the same way that this movie and Conan the Destroyer are awesome in how kind of like not great they are. But same thing with that. It's just like wander, have an encounter, wander, have an encounter, and then the movie eventually ends.
Okay. Let's talk box office. Budget of $18 million. That's a little surprising. Feels like a lot of money. Maybe it was all in costumes and locations. I have no idea.
I mean,
I don't know where the money went.
There were definitely a fair number of matte paintings. Like I don't know how much that stuff costs, but then like some like a fair number of sets that they had to build.
Yeah,
like where they first meet the kid and Falcon with like the bubbling pit and the giant stone hand, and then where they fight Breytag and the pit with the water robot thing and the final castle and all those different rooms. Like there was a lot of sets that they had to build.
That stuff all looked great too, by the way. And I like the costumes. I thought the costuming was good in this. It was a little cheesy, but I don't know. I kind of appreciated that. So
I liked that weird lopsided mask that Gedrin wore over her face to cover the scar and everything.
Yeah, I like that too. I thought that was
cool. Outfits that like the priestess warrior women or whatever were wearing in the beginning, the like white with the weird headdress things.
Yeah. I think Red Sonja could have had a better costume. I think her costume was a little bland, but
yeah. You know what's funny is in the beginning when we see those priestess women and they're in like those long robes with like the intricate, like some of them had like pointed like pyramid looking heads and other ones had like the big discs on top. It actually reminded me a little bit of like some of the outfits in the new the Dune movies from the last couple years.
Yeah.
Like I think it's in the first one when the Atreides first go to the Dune planet and they're like getting off of the ship and there's all those people in weird costumes around. Like that's what it made me think of.
Yeah. That's what we need. Denis Villeneuve to make Red Sonja Conan movie. There we go. All right. So this is interesting as far as its box office run. Something that I haven't seen yet in the time that we've been covering these movies for the show. So budget of $18 million. Total box office was only $6.9 million. Check this out. It debuted in 1,100 theaters on July 5th and grossed $2.2 million in its first weekend at number 9 behind Back to the Future in its opening week, Pale Rider, Rambo 2, Cocoon, The Emerald Forest, St. Elmo's Fire, The Goonies, and Fletch.
Holy shit.
What a weekend to go to the movies, am I right? Like,
well, when you said it debuted at 2.2 million at number 9, that means that there were at least 9 movies that made over $2 million at the box office that weekend, which again for the 80s would have been seemingly really good.
Yeah.
So that's pretty wild.
But just imagine you're going to the theaters, you've got Back to the Future opening, you're obviously going to see that first. But you got Rambo 2 in theaters, you got St. Elmo's Fire, Cocoon, The Goonies, Fletch, and then this is like your like last option. It's like Pale Rider. Like that's impressive.
Yeah.
So it opens, right? At number 9, it does 2.2 million. In its second week, it failed to cross the $1 million mark in 886 theaters. So they pulled it from about 200 theaters. Get this, it left theaters after its only second week in release.
Wow.
The movie was in theaters for 2 weeks.
I mean, that's a little surprising, but at the same time, when you consider how much competition it had, I'm not that surprised.
And the quality of the movie, let's be honest.
Yeah, but like, it's easy to imagine in the 80s that on a less stacked weekend, like when did it come out?
1985, July 5th.
July is like prime summer movie season. If this came out in like
January,
well, yeah, like early in the year or like late in the year, like October or something, I bet it would have fared a lot better. But they probably thought, not knowing like how big, what the hell is this Back to the Future thing going to be? You know, they probably assumed that, you know, another fantasy movie with Arnold, it's not Conan, but people will be out for it.
Yeah.
You know,
2 weeks though. I don't think I've seen that before where the movie's only in theaters. I had to like triple check because I'm like, is this right? But yeah, it was only in theaters for 2 weeks. So,
well, I mean, famously, the Boondock Saints was only in theaters for 1 week in a single theater.
Oh, really? Yeah, maybe that's the difference too. This went from 1,000 theaters to 800 theaters to 0 theaters. That seems pretty crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Back to the Future was the number 1 movie that weekend. What do you think the number 1 movie grossed that weekend?
What did you say? This was its opening weekend?
Opening weekend
for Back to the Future. Well, I don't know if that was. Well, it was number 1, so obviously it was big. But I would be curious to know
what is big in 1985 is the question.
Like 8.5,
11.1. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's pretty fucking good, though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it would go on to be the biggest movie of the year, but. Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Tough break for Red Sonja. Didn't have much of a chance going against that competition that week. Maybe they should have planned it out a little bit better.
Did you say Emerald Forest? That's like the only, that's the one. Gosh, I can't remember who's in it. I want to say it's like Nick Nolte or something, but I think it's like his son gets captured by like natives in the jungle, and then he goes back like later to try and rescue his son, but his son is now like ingratiated with the tribe or something. I feel like that's also kind of a forgotten movie, but
yeah, Powers Booth stars in that.
Powers Booth. Is that kind of the premise though? Am I nuts? It's like
the film
he's going after his son.
Of an American boy is kidnapped by an indigenous tribe in the Amazon jungle. Yeah, interesting. But yeah, that also, that was the number 5 movie that debuted that week at 4.3 million. So
wow,
people are going to the movies.
It's nuts to think that people went to see that over Red Sonja.
Yeah. I don't know where people land in fantasy. It feels like fantasy is not a popular genre in the 80s as far as like film goes.
I mean, Conan was a pretty big hit, big enough to get a sequel like 2 years later. And then this is another fantasy movie coming right on those heels with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I would have thought it would have had some pull. I don't know. I mean, you know, Star Wars is technically sci-fi, but that's like a fantasy adventure film. And that was still popular like around that time. And, you know, Indiana Jones is more of like just an adventure film, but it definitely has like those sci-fi fantasy elements to it. It's not straight up like sword and sandals fantasy like this, but I mean, when was Clash of the Titans in those movies? Like
that's like what the 50s?
Probably earlier in the 80s.
Is Clash of the Titans? Oh, that's a different. I'm thinking of something else. Okay.
Are you thinking of like Jason and the Argonauts?
Yeah.
No, Clash of the Titans with like the robot owl. I think that would have been like very early 80s, maybe
81. 81.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just a female lead. People weren't ready for it.
Maybe, or maybe the movie wasn't good. All right. Reviews 21% on Rotten Tomatoes. Roger Ebert says this. This was actually from his TV show. I couldn't find the written one, but this is what he actually said. The single silliest sword and sorcery movie since The Black Shield of Falworth. This one is so inept. I don't know. This one's so inept. There are times when it's actually fun, especially when the actors struggle through dialogue that sounds like they've already read the Mad Magazine parody of this film.
Oh, that's a good line.
Yeah, that was good. 1 out of 4 stars. Gene Siskel, though, I did find his written review and said, none of this would matter if Red Sonja was the least bit exciting or sexy or even funny. Instead, it's lumbering, oddly prim, and laughable. 1 out of 4 stars. So Siskel and Ebert, 2 thumbs down. Now, Dave Kerr of the Chicago Reader did enjoy this movie. He said, it's a great looking film filled with widely imaginative sets and costumes that would have done the maestro proud. And veteran director Richard Fleischer rises to the occasion with some sharply staged action scenes. With Nielsen's minimal English rubbing up against the fractured locations of co-star Arnold Schwarzenegger, the dialogue passages don't exactly play like Noel Coward. Don't know what that means. But this is a movie that succeeds rousingly well at its own humble Saturday night terms. So it's like he likes it, but knows that it's not actually that good.
Yeah. Who's the maestro?
I don't know.
I wonder if that's Edgar Rice Burroughs?
Maybe.
Like, who would they be making proud? Like, is there some other big fantasy director that he was referring to that we would have known back then? I
should have found the whole review. Janet Maslin in the New York Times said, Mr. Fleischer, I like that she calls him Mr. Fleischer, brings absolutely no playfulness to what might at least have been an enjoyable light, and he brings out the worst in a cast that was ill-chosen to begin with. So, not a fan at the New York Times. And then, I think this might be the first, we have a Leonard Maltin review. Spectacularly silly, while it might amuse juvenile viewers, most of the fun for adults is in deciding who gives the worst performance, Bridget Nielsen or Sandal Bergman.
Oh, man. They didn't even drag Arnold into that one.
Ennio Morricone's musical score is far better than a film like this one deserves, as are Daniel Dottano's costumes and sets. 1.5 stars out of 5. We haven't mentioned Ennio Morricone.
Yeah, Ennio Morricone
did the score for this. kind of forgettable, I would say. Like, it's not terrible. It's not great. It's just kind of forgettable.
You know, I saw his name in like the opening credits and keyed into the music in that sequence and was like, oh, wow, this is good. And then like, I feel like I didn't think about it for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, I think he spent all of his budget on that first song, the first part of the track, and then just kind of let the rest go. It's not bad. It's just not, he's obviously done some spectacular work. It's just not this.
Yeah, I guess lends a little credit to the film.
Yeah, he does. He does. I think that's our first Leonard Maltin review, though. Surprisingly hard to find his reviews unless you have his old books, and I don't.
I was going to say, how hard could it be to go on eBay and buy one of his old movie guides for like $1?
Yeah, I'd have to actually buy the book, but the books are not available online.
I mean, you have a movie podcast where you specifically highlight reviews. I feel like you could spend $1 plus $3 shipping and get yourself an old copy of Leonard Maltin's movie guide.
I need to find out.
I used to have one years ago. Like, I think I got it off like the 50-cent used book rack at the library, and I would just like look through it at movies I liked.
Yeah, he stopped making or doing the reviews, stopped printing the book too, right?
At some point, yeah. But I mean, I feel like he made them well into the 2000s.
Man, do I really want to spend $7 on his book? I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, think of all the other shit that you probably spend $7 on in a given day and don't even think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Hell, that's like one coffee at Starbucks, basically.
Awards, no, of course not. This is not going to get any awards.
I like that. Awards, no.
It did get some like golden raspberry stuff. I didn't put that down because I'm not supporting that.
The less we talk about those assholes, the better.
Yeah. So no awards. We're not going to talk about the negative awards. Are just stupid. And then as far as like culture impact, I couldn't really find anything. This is not a character. I mean, the characters lived on in literature and comics and stuff. It
lives on in comics because they can draw or wearing barely any clothes.
Right. Right.
And get Joe Michael Linsner to do variant covers for every issue.
Does he still do that?
He does.
Wow.
Pretty much every issue of like that and one or two other like female driven books from like Dynamite Publishing maybe or Titan. I can't remember who. He still does variant covers for him.
Wow. That's surprising.
That's his bread and butter. I mean, that's what he's doing these days.
But the character didn't have as much of an impact as like Conan did.
Yeah.
So, and then as far as notes, in Conan the Barbarian, Sandal Bergman played Valeria, a thief and the love of Conan's life. Bergman was offered the role of Red Sonja, but turned it down, choosing instead to play the villainous Queen Gedrin. So she could have been Red Sonja.
That's interesting.
A remake was announced in 2009 with Robert Rodriguez directing and Rose McGowan starring.
McGowan, yeah, I've heard about that.
Obviously didn't go anywhere. And then the latest, I mean, there's constant news.
Yeah, this is one of those characters where every 3 years they're like, new movie, new TV show.
Yeah, there's a ton. But the latest that it's as of 2025, it's reported that Millennium Films has picked MJ Bassett to write and direct the film with Matilda Lutz cast as Red Sonja. So I looked up who are any of the
people whose names you just said.
They are, so MJ Bassett, the movies I've listed are Death Watch, Solomon Kane, and Silent Hill Revelation. They're like those red box or what would be now Tubi style movies. You know, they're made for usually less than $1 million. They try to find a star, quote unquote star, to come and film for a day so that they could put them on the poster.
Like all the movies that Bruce Willis made for the past decade, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what MJ Bassett directs. And then Matilda Lutz, Zone 414, Reptile, and Magpie are all movies.
The fuck?
That are, they had stars in them, but again, they're like probably to-be sort of movies that, yeah, no idea. But that's the latest.
So in other words, their plan is to make a piece of shit. Gotcha.
So instead of my idea of getting like the Game of Thrones team together to put it, you know, make one of these movies that could be interesting, let's go the cheapest, worst way and make a worst version of the 1985 Red Sonja is what they're going to do.
Great.
You know what's surprising is that how tame the movie is as far as its rating. It's not super bloody. It's not super violent. there's one scene with nudity that feels like it was like thrown in to get an R rating.
Yeah.
To say that it was like R, but normally these movies are way more like scandalous as far as their nudity, and this had like none.
Yeah, what was the deal with that scene? It was like imagine the evil witch saying like mirror, mirror on the wall, and then it like shows her a vision of something or like looking into a crystal ball. But they have like this magic screen and it's controlled by this like wizard magician guy. And she asks like, show me an image of Red Sonja. And it's like, it's like it shows whatever he's thinking about, and he was thinking about like a naked woman dancing, so he accidentally like puts on the wrong channel or something before they show Red Sonja. It was such a weird scene, like out of nowhere. I
know. I mean, it was. I think it obviously played for humor, but it's like he got caught looking at
thinking
porn.
about naked ladies dancing.
Yeah, or something.
So weird.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. Well, I mean, it's kind of like I said before, it feels like this movie and to a degree Conan the Destroyer, unlike Conan the Barbarian, these feel like they were geared towards like a fun adventure movie for kids to see. Because they're not super dark and brooding and ultra violent, you know. It's a lot of just Arnold swings a sword at someone and they fall down. You never see any blood or anything.
Yeah.
I do feel like there was one scene that was like surprisingly bloody. I think he like cut someone's arm off at one point.
She does chop somebody's head off and it goes flying. But
yeah, again,
that's more comedic. I think it happens twice, actually.
Yeah, I seem to remember, and I don't remember when it was, but I think there was a scene, like a fight scene with like a bunch of people where one person gets like chopped and like a bunch of blood sprays out of him. But I can't remember exactly when it was.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah. It is what it is. We got an episode out of it. We were able to talk for this long, mostly about Arnold Schwarzenegger and the career of action stars in the 80s. But
I could do this all day.
All right, Cap. All right, the question is, did you miss it? Ryan, did you miss Red Sonja?
In as much as I have literally been like checking titles off of a list to try and watch all of the action movies from like the 80s and 90s, I want to say yes, but like just judging the movie on its own merits, honestly, no, I didn't miss it.
You can't. I mean, if you did, it's literally because you wanted to see it to check it off the list. It's not the movie's not good.
And I've done that, but is it something that now I look back on and be like, oh, why didn't I watch this forever ago? No.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's not. Going 0 for 4 here, and not a great start to movies I missed 1985. As far as movies that we missed, it feels like we haven't actually missed anything yet, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, all those movies you named, I've seen Back to the Future, I've seen Pale Rider, I've seen Rambo 2, I've seen St. Elmo's Fire, I've seen The Goonies, I've seen Fletch, I've seen Cocoon. Like, the only movie out of the top 9 that I hadn't seen aside from this is The Emerald Forest.
Yeah. I mean, we've got some interesting things coming up. There's a chance that we're going to miss some stuff. But honestly, it's not looking good for the yeses as far as what we missed coming up or for the overall season. It's going to be a rough one. But that's what's fun about it. It doesn't matter if we missed it or not. You know, it's the journey that we go on. All right,
great.
So we watched Red Sonja. We did not miss it. We're back next week with my choice, Vision Quest. So come back for Vision Quest next week. And can we get something that we missed? That's the question all season. Is this worth it? Or did we already see them all? So come back next week for Vision Quest. All right, until then, I'm Jesse Munoz.
I'm Ryan Miller.
This has been Movies I Missed, Red Sonja. Come back next week when we watch Vision Quest.